So in this video, I'm going to be making more new color schemes and alternate outfits for Super Smash Bros. Characters. I've got a lot to get through here, I just don't know if I'll do it all in one video, but if I do, this series will already be over. But anyway, this is fairly self-explanatory. I'm just making unique color schemes and new outfits for the characters in Smash, taking references from the character's history or characters that they're related to or other forms they had to base color schemes off of those. So, we're going to start with Bowser Jr. I made two versions for him specifically. The first one takes inspiration from Shadow Mario, which is his persona from Super Mario Sunshine. And the second one is Cat Bowser Jr., or whatever you call this, I don't even know if it has an official name, which is like his secret alternate form in Bowser's Fury. And this one was actually more than just a color swap, I actually added features to it. Then for the other Koopalings, which are technically just Bowser Jr., at least in terms of Smash, I did Roy, taking inspiration from where he's randomly blue for no reason in Super Mario World, making him blue here. Then Ludwig, also from Super Mario World, where he's randomly yellow for no reason. And Iggy, where he's also randomly blue, with white hair for whatever reason. So yeah, there's that. Moving on to Princess Daisy, I made a couple for her. First of all, a black and white one to reference her origins in Super Mario Land for the Game Boy. A slightly altered one that references her N64 era design with, I guess, more saturated, brighter colors and longer hair. And lastly, one to represent Tatanga, which is the final boss of Super Mario Land, which is of course her debut game. And I even went as far to make her skin purple. And one last one that just makes her very vibrant light blue, including her eyes and crown, which references the Beauty Star stamp from Mario Party 3, which is the one that she has, which for whatever reason isn't orange, it's blue, but I guess it's because DK's is orange. For Peach, I did one to represent the Shadow Queen, or at least like the Peach form from the Thousand Year Door. I even shortened her hair down to the length it is here. Here's one to represent Princess Shokora from Wario Land 3. And then one for Queen Merelda from Wario Land Shake It. Then one for Bubble Peach, as well as Drill Peach, both from Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And lastly, one for, I forget the exact name, it's called like Super Radiant Peach or something. It's like the final form in the kind of recent Switch game, Princess Peach Showtime. I also added the unique crown she has here. I'm honestly a big fan of this one. This came out looking pretty cool. Then moving into Wario, I did one that I feel like would have been obvious, but they didn't do. I guess that's because I think it's either Mario or Luigi that have this instead. A Waluigi-themed alternate outfit. Then one that is red and black to reference the Virtual Boy, specifically his sprite in Virtual Boy Wario Land, even making his skin red. And then I have one to represent the Shake King from Wario Land Shake It for the Wii, which is the final boss in that game, and I have two variants of this, one with the facial hair color yellow like his is, and also red gloves, and then another one with his normal mustache color just because I kind of thought it looked better. Anyway, then one to represent Captain Syrup, which is sort of a rival of Wario's in a couple of his games. I even added a little piratey bandana to his hat and a little octopus earring thing. Honestly, a big fan of this one as well. Then one for Rudy the Clown, which is the final boss of, I'm pretty sure, Wario Land 3 for the Game Boy Color. And lastly, one for Vampire Wario, which I believe is a power-up in some of the Wario Land games, but is also his like unlockable form in Dr. Mario 64. And I made some actual physical changes, like giving him a cape, and also sharpening his teeth. Then for Yoshi, I did one to represent Boshi from Super Mario RPG. I made a lot of actual physical changes, giving him the spike on his head, the sunglasses, the collar, and the toes poking through the shoes. And this is probably the most I actually did in terms of changing the design instead of the colors. I'm honestly impressed I was even able to do this. I mean, it could look better, I'm not saying I'm good at this, but I did this in Photoshop, so I'm trying my best. Anyway, then a black and white Yoshi, because the black and white Yoshis are pretty cool, but they're just not in Smash, so here they hypothetically are. Then one to represent Birdo, where I of course made him pink, but also added Birdo's bow. I realistically could have also made this sort of like an Echo Fighter thing where it just literally is Birdo, but this is supposed to be more of just a reference to Birdo. And then lastly, one to represent who I believe is called like Yoshi Kid, or just Yoshi, the partner from the Thousand Year Door, giving him the little pants and the mohawk, and getting rid of his shell. Then for Dr. Mario, like I did with Wario, giving him his sort of secret outfit in Dr. Mario 64, if any human even has ever touched that game or knows about it. Dr. Mario has one too, being Metal Dr. Mario, so I did that here. Followed by one to reference the 3 new viruses that are from, I believe, Dr. Luigi, which are a yellow, a cyan, and a magenta one, making his outfit those 3 colors. Then one for Fire Dr. Mario, which is from, I believe, like that mobile Dr. Mario game that they shut down a while ago. I have 2 versions, one of just a red stethoscope thing on his head, and then one that actually has Fire Mario's hat. But I just figured if I give it just Mario's hat anyway, then it would probably draw some confusion as to is this Mario or Dr. Mario, so yeah. Anyway, then one for Dr. Luigi with, of course, a green tie, but also different pant colors and different shoe colors. And then lastly, one for the lime green virus, which is from maybe Dr. Mario Miracle Cure. I don't even know. I'm not really into this series. I just know there's this one green virus. Anyway, next up we've got Ganondorf. I have 2 different variants to represent Dark Beast Ganon from Breath of the Wild. The only difference is that the one has more sort of radiating aura with the hair, with like white accents to it. Either way, I think it looks pretty cool. Then one to represent Vati, which is from some of like, I believe the GBA games, or like 4 Swords and the Minish Cap, I think. Then one to represent the Demon King Ganondorf from Tears of the Kingdom with a much darker and red color scheme. Then I did a singular outfit for the Ice Climbers, referencing, I believe it's called the Topi, like one of 2 enemies in the original Ice Climber game, or I guess like the only Ice Climber game, which is this little Yeti-looking dude. Moving on to Incineroar, like for the last video where I did Greninja, all of his outfits just referencing the other fully evolved water starters. For Incineroar, I did the other fire starters. So here's an Incineroar that references Charizard's color scheme, one for Typhlosion's color scheme, one for Blaziken, one for Infernape, but also kind of just regular shiny Incineroar at the same time, because it just ended up kind of looking like that. One for Emboar, which I think looks pretty cool. One for Delphox, one for Cinderace, and of course, one for Skeledirge, which also kind of looks pretty cool and also kind of looks like it's shiny. Moving on to Isabelle, I have one to represent her sort of like paradise outfit from New Horizons of the sort of salmon pink color. One for her kimono outfit, which I don't actually know what this is from, maybe like Lunar New Year or something, and New Leaf or something, but it's got this sort of green color to it. Then one to represent this black outfit that she has in Pocket Camp, which was, I believe, one of the anniversary outfits. Then Lottie's outfit, or at least the color scheme that Lottie has for her outfit. And another variant I made of that actually has Lottie's bow instead of her little headband. Then one to represent another female character being Celeste. And lastly, one more for Blanca, which is sort of a more random pick, but it ended up looking kind of cool, so yeah. Moving on to Jigglypuff, I made one that represents her shiny with the green eyes and the lighter fur, or skin, whatever you would even call this. One to represent Azurill, which is another, or technically the only other normal fairy type that isn't related to Jigglypuff, so they've got that connection. Then one of Pikachu's color scheme, because they're sort of counterparts in a way, especially in the world of Smash, aka just making Jigglypuff yellow. And lastly, one to represent its pre-evolution Igglybuff, mainly just giving it lighter skin and red eyes. Then for King Dedede, I did several of his forms from the series past, including, I believe, Shadow King Dedede from one of like the worthless spin-off fighting games, Parallel King Dedede from Star Allies, Phantom King Dedede from Forgotten Land, Masked Dedede, specifically his appearance in, I think, Triple Deluxe, and yes, I did just literally Photoshop the mask from one image to the other. And then lastly, one that isn't a form, just one of his other alternate colors from Kirby 64, which one of his actual real color palettes in Smash does reference, if I'm not mistaken, so this references another one being his sort of yellow and brown one, or orange, whatever. Then for Lucario, I did his shiny, because I don't know why they wouldn't have made one of his alternate palettes his shiny, that was kind of a no-brainer. Then one to represent Zoroark, which first of all looks really cool, but also some people sort of associate Lucario and Zoroark together, so yeah. Then one for Lycanroc, another kind of similar Pokemon. Then moving on to Meta Knight, I did a color palette for Morpho Knight from Kirby Star Allies, as well as Morpho Knight EX, also from Star Allies, then Phantom Meta Knight from Forgotten Land. Then moving on to Mewtwo, I again did his shiny, because for whatever reason that doesn't exist in Smash. Then a fully pink one with blue eyes to represent Mew, which is of course a counterpart to Mewtwo. Then a very similar one, just of blue skin, to represent shiny Mew, which honestly I think looks pretty cool. Followed by one to represent Giovanni's outfit, and also just the Team Rocket logo and color scheme in general, making him red and black, which definitely looks pretty cool. And then one for Shadow Mewtwo from, I think, Pokken Tournament. Then moving on to Pac-Man, I did one color for each of the 4 iconic ghosts, Pinky, Inky, Blinky, and Clyde. Then I also did one for Golvis, which is this random dude from Pack and Roll, which is like a kind of obscure DS game, but it ended up being a pretty cool color scheme. Followed by color schemes for his 2 friends in that one TV show they made back in like the 2010s. I forget what their names are, like Spiral and Cylindria, I think? I don't know. Anyway, then Pichu, I have one to represent Raichu's color scheme, which is of course its final evolved form. One for Togepi, which is kind of similar to Pichu in that they're both Gen 2 baby Pokemon, and also this color scheme just looks pretty cool. Then one for Igglybuff, again, also a Gen 2 baby. And then one for Magby, which is also a Gen 2 baby. Then Piranha Plant, I did one for Dino Piranha from Mario Galaxy, as well as Fiery Dino Piranha. One for the Icy Piranha Plant, specifically as it appears fully blue in the Paper Mario games. Then one for the Wonder Piranhas in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And lastly, one to represent the Raving Piranha plants from the track Electrodrome in Mario Kart. Then for Pokemon Trainer, I represented all of the trainer characters that aren't represented in Smash already. So essentially the way they did it is they have, of course, Red and Leaf from Gen 1, but then they just have one trainer represented from each consecutive generation. Not counting 8 and 9, of course, because they didn't exist yet. So I just filled in all the blanks there. I did Brendan, since May is of course one of the alternates actually in Smash. And then for the actual Pokemon, for all of these, I took inspiration from the starters from that gen, and specifically the stages that they would match up with for the starters in Smash. So we have Mudkip, Blaziken, and Grovyle. Gen 5, they represent Hilda, but not Hilbert, so here's him, with Emboar, Servine, and Oshawott colors for the Pokemon. Gen 7, they use Celine, but not Elio, so here's him, with Dartrix, Poplio, and Incineroar color schemes. Then for the females, Gen 2, they don't use Lyra, so here's her, with Bayleaf, Typhlosion, and Totodile color schemes. Gen 4, they use Lucas, but not Dawn, so here's that, with Infernape, Groudon, and Piplup color schemes on the starters. And lastly, Serena for Gen 6, with Froakie, Delphox, and Quilladin color schemes. Anyway, then for Rosalina, we have one to represent Polari, which is like the brown/black Luma from Mario Galaxy, where she even gets Polari as the actual Luma. One for the Apricot Luma, also known as the Baby Luma. Then one for, I think it's called the Cosmic Spirit or something from Super Mario Galaxy 2. I just gave her a sort of space purpley effect, including the Luma as well. Then one for Lubba from Super Mario Galaxy 2, giving her the color scheme of him as well, and also adding his little glowing ball to the top of her crown. Then for Sonic, I just did some of his good pals. We got a Knuckles color scheme, a Tails color scheme, a Shadow color scheme, an Amy color scheme, a Big the Cat color scheme, and a Blaze the Cat color scheme. Next up for Steve, or I guess the zombie. I did a lot of variants for the zombie, not Steve himself. We have the Husk, the Drowned, a Zombie Pigman, and this is of course not actually turning it into those things, it's just taking the color palette, of course, a Skeleton, and a Withered Skeleton, as well as a Blaze. But then I did one for Steve, taking inspiration from a villager's outfit, and also making his eyes green like a villager instead of blue. Lastly, I did the villager, no pun intended, like the actual villager from Animal Crossing. I just gave them all of the outfits that the actual villagers on the cover of past Animal Crossing games wear. So for Wild World, we have the boy with like the fishing hat, and then the girl with whatever this hat is supposed to be. For City Folk, we have the girl with the red and yellow shirt and the brown hair. And of course the boy on this one is literally the one in Smash, so I skipped that. Then from New Leaf, the one with the suit and the fedora, and the girl with the bow. Then New Horizons, the one with the straw hat and the blue hair, and the girl with the red hair, or I guess orange hair. And as you saw for some of the other ones, I actually took their eyes that they have in the models on the game covers and put them on. For this I did that, it just looked really weird, so I kept the original ones. And then lastly, one for the original good old Animal Crossing for the GameCube with the weird Viking hat. And yeah, that is everything. I kind of rushed it at the end because I realized I was just gonna get this all done in one video. And yes, that is all I'm gonna do for this series, because I realized I don't really know enough about any of the other characters or, like, care about them or their series too much to really effectively give them good alternate colors, so I just stopped at all the characters I was actually, like, excited about. But for now, if you like this, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and thanks for watching.